Hey, it's Lori Alvarez and my sweet sister who's here.
Amy Cruz. Hello, hello.
And we have an amazing guest again today.
Woo, woo.
Yes, I'm very excited. Danielle Tate, you are here. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Danielle.
Hi, delighted to be here.
We're excited to have you. So I was just looking at all of these cool things people have said about you. And I was like, man, I can't wait to be just like her when I grow up. Right? You are the perfect blueprint for anyone looking to build a portfolio of high return on investment vacation rental investments with tactical advice and real world examples.
Wow.
Following Colin's advice, we've purchased over 20 properties in the past 2 years and are outperforming 95% of our peers. And that was Tony, and he's the CEO of Blue Maple Vacation Rental Investment Fund. Wow. Like that,
gosh.
I just need to read that one. And I'm like, God is good. You are blessed, girlfriend. What the heck?
It's one of those things where I think my parents' generation, and I was even brought up, like you go to school and you get your career and that's just what you do.
Right.
And that's not at all what I've done. I was supposed to be a doctor. I started a tech company a long time ago, and now I am passionately involved with short-term rentals, Airbnb design, and it's so much fun. Like part of my job is shopping at Home Goods weekly. Like, who hates doing that?
Yeah. Danielle, I will say, okay, so first and foremost, you have a new book that's just been released, correct? Or has been released just recently, correct?
Host Coach came out on January 31st. It's like my second child. I'm very excited about it.
Congratulations. And I'm halfway through it. And I've got to tell you, as I was reading through it, I was like, oh, my sister needs to be in the Airbnb business because she loves to make spaces special and she loves to, which is this girl right here, right? And we're both, obviously she's my buyer's agent on my real estate team too. But I really appreciated your book in the sense of like, hey, if you have a passion for this, like I was like, oh, I got to buy some more of these books and send them to these clients because these clients will be inspired by just what your book, the real like easy way of looking at it without allowing your limiting beliefs to get in the way. Right?
Yeah, it's a different way of real estate investing. I love real estate. I'm the person that drives around and knows who changed their shutter color, who planted a tree, what's in the market, how long it's sat. I'm not even a realtor. I just love real estate. And so, I've invested, but I always felt like someone important needed to invest my small amount of money for me, like stocks, the market, all of it. I just felt like, well, I'm somewhat educated. I didn't have enough time to dedicate to put the money I work really hard for into that. And short-term rental investing is something I can wrap my brain around. It's something that has been performing for, my husband, myself, we started with friends and family, and now we have like hundreds of mentees. And in every market, people are getting 5x returns compared to short-term rentals. And it's not magic. It just makes a lot of sense. How people are traveling changed. Airbnb changed everything. I mean, for me, once we had a child that got up at 5 a.m. every morning and needed breakfast, hotels were out of the picture. We needed a kitchen. And so just the world has changed, travel has changed, and real estate is reacting to that change. And it's a really awesome time to be involved in this amazing investment opportunity.
Yeah, I have to say, I was really like, when I was reading through the book, that was one of the things, because I personally, like, obviously I have a real estate that I have invested in as well, but mine is long-term rental, not short-term rental. And not that I'm opposed to short-term rental. I think it's amazing. It's just not the product that I personally would enjoy. But I was like, after your description, I was like, man, my sister needs to do the short-term thing. It's right up her alley. And what really stood out to me is what you said in the book, right? Specifically was like the way people vacation is changed. And I was like, wow, that is so true. Because I truly believed because of COVID-19, like everyone stopped vacationing. And I didn't think about the fact that you could do a short-term rental and you wouldn't have to worry about other people being in your space and all of that. So I really like appreciated that you were like, wow, this area like really flourished in the real estate market during that time. So
it was a silver lining, absolutely.
for sure. Well, I mean, it's done just wonders for the real estate market in general. COVID-19.
Yeah.
Let's
Seriously.
be real.
Yeah.
We'll see where it all ends up, but it's been wonderful so far.
Knock
So
on wood.
yeah. So with that said, Danielle, how did you come into this business more specifically? What brought you into it?
I would love to say that it was a conscious decision and, months of research led to an investment, but it was an accident like the majority of my businesses, or divine intervention, however you would like to label it.
Yes.
My son was 3, and when you have a toddler, like, you don't want to be stuck in your house, but you really can't do big trips and lots of things. So my husband and I purchased a very small cabin on a mountain. When we bought it, you could literally see between the floor and the wall. So we like jacked it back together. And it was just, a
Wow.
fishing cabin, hang out, you could go. And over
Yeah.
time, I painted an accent wall and slowly IKEA'd and home goods, and suddenly, friends wanted to borrow it, and then friends of friends, and then a friend of a friend's friend who was a chef downtown who needed a break wanted to borrow it, and we were like, wait a minute, maybe we need to put this on Airbnb. We just didn't think that there would be a high enough rate to make it worth the hassle, and we were wrong, absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
So accidents and being wrong turned into a rather robust portfolio of 9 Airbnb properties, 8 of which are in the United States, 1 is in the Caribbean. And we just never looked back. It was like, wait, this is working. And my husband is my polar opposite and loves algorithms. And was like, hey, if we get 2 more of these, I can test all of my theories. And I'm like, sure, why not? And
test away, babe.
Yeah, he's like, I bought this house. You haven't seen it yet. Can you decorate it? I was like, sure.
Absolutely.
Degree in biology, I'm really qualified for that. But it's really fun. And I love the element of not just, everyone loves making money. Everyone enjoys having a real estate portfolio that's performing and that's diversified. I love the people connection. Like, I love when guests message and say, hey, I'm going to propose. Is there a scenic area? And I'm like, oh my gosh, Kennedy's Peak, go here. Or I'm planning my mom's birthday. Is there a place for lunch? Or is there a spot? Like, I really love the hosting aspect and being a part of big moments and small moments in people's lives. Like, that just makes me feel good as a person. So it's sort of like the double bottom line. I'm like, we're making money and we're making people's lives better. And I think that's a really cool component that isn't always a part of investing.
Yeah. I just absolutely love that, because I did when you spoke about that in your book, like the special moments and coming up with ideas. And we do have a couple clients that are also good friends of ours that do the whole VRBO and the Airbnb kind of thing. And now as I'm reading through your book, and I'm of course going to share your book forward with them, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, like, Danielle, train me to be a better realtor to them. What do I need to do for them to support them in moving this forward? Because just from reading half your book, I can see why they're thriving in the business as well, right?
So yeah, for any of your listeners who are realtors,
yes,
not only should you be looking into short-term rental investing for yourself, you should be reaching out to all of your clients. This is an excellent opportunity to sell a second home that pays for itself and the first home. It's this miraculous thing if you can get your clients to wrap their brain around it. So the premise is that within an hour to 3 hours of any major metropolitan city, there are recreational vacation areas. They could be mountains, they could be national parks, they could be deserts, they could be winery areas, ski resorts, anything like that. And so I draw a big circle around my city that I'm looking at, and I just start mapping where these things are. And you'll find communities clustered around there. And that's the sweet spot for investment. Many people invest in the city. You can do that. It's, there may be more restrictions, and there's usually a lower return on investment. We love finding, seldom used vacation homes and turning them into high occupancy short-term rentals. That's really where the magic for us is. The other place everyone wants is a place at the beach. As realtors, I'm sure you know and advise your clients that the rental rates are pretty much baked in.
Yeah.
People know that if you get a beach place, you can rent it out for part of the year. So when they sell it with the book of business or that opportunity. So for us, it's
Yes.
finding, and for, for the people you're talking to as a realtor, like, hey, where do you like to go as a family that isn't the beach that's nearby? Where do you drive to? If you have a girls' weekend or an anniversary, that's where you should start showing them places or have them look and tell you about.
Yeah. Yeah. In that part of the book, I was reading that and I was like, oh, there's like, I can do so much more, even for the clients that we have that are regular. They're already doing their VRBO and their Airbnb thing. I'm like, oh gosh, what the heck? I'm not even really supporting them in that. Like, I'm rooting them on. Yeah, go get it. But I'm not actually even supporting them and like, hey, locally, these are great places that you should invest in that I can help you with. Right.
Yeah,
So it
it's such
was
an
really
easy sale. Everyone wants a vacation home. A vacation home that pays
Right.
for itself is like, and makes money is like a
Yeah.
no-brainer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I 100% was like, oh my gosh, what the heck? She just lit me up right now. God speaks to us in mysterious ways, I promise you. And
So
it's always through amazing people.
Yeah.
So, and here's another great stat that she has in her book, sister. 55% of women, right? Danielle, tell her the stat. 55% of women.
55% of Airbnb investors or hosts are women. So that equates out to about 2 million
Wow.
women who are actively involved in Airbnb. And
Oh
I
my
love
gosh.
that. I'm always the underdog. Like
love
women
it.
in technology, I was in it before that was cool. I was like the only woman in the room, and that's fine. But it's great to have a sisterhood, to be part of Facebook groups and have
Right.
all of these other women to be like, here's what I'm doing. What are you doing? It's very collaborative. It's a great community. And we've got half of it, and I'd love to see that grow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to me because my very first podcast, we talked about this on the last podcast, but my very first podcast, which was only 8 minutes long because I didn't know what the heck I was doing, was about like women in negotiating and how they lose, right? And I was
Well,
like,
we
what
don't
the
talk
heck?
about money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please do. Go ahead. Talk
You know,
about that.
actually, I have a great stat. I just pulled it up before this podcast. I wanted to make sure it was right. So between March of 2020 and March of 2021, can you guess how many $1 million women investors made in Airbnb? Female hosts.
Oh my gosh, how much?
Oh wow.
$600 million.
Wow.
Holy cow.
That's not catch change. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And what I love about
Gosh.
women investors in general is, and I'm biased, I love men as well, but like
Right. Of
women
course.
give back more. Like women make
Yes.
money and they invest it into their families, into their children's education, into their communities, into
Yeah.
charities helping their communities. And it's just amazing to see the ripple effect of women investors who are doing well and able to just keep helping. I just love that part of it.
So just tell me, I mean, come on, be real. It's not like hard work or what the heck? What is it? What's the experience like for you personally?
So I think you have to be a person. I don't think you could be super flaky. I don't ever want to work. Like I think if you never check your email, this is a bad idea for you. Unless you find a partner, and if you have the money and they have the time, then awesome.
Yes.
That could be perfect. But this is terrible. I can't believe I'm going to say this on a podcast, but it will stick and resonate. My husband calls this a toilet time business because the amount of time you need to take care of a single property is about 8 to 10 minutes. You can do that now in a bathroom like a normal human being, but it's one of those terrible facts that everyone's going to comment on. But it's once you set it up, you find the property, you furnish the property. There are a lot of really great technologies that help with auto messaging. There's this great company called Hospitable. So you type in your message. So someone's like, hey, I'm interested in your property. And instead of them waiting to hear back from you, if you're on the phone, or if you're working your job or driving or at a baseball game, I live at baseball and lacrosse games. There's an instant response. It's a canned response, but you wrote it. It's like, hey, thanks for your interest. Here's the area. Here's the commonly asked questions. Boom, they heard from you. And it's like that throughout the entire process. So like, here's your check-in information 5 days ahead of time. Here's a little automated note. How are you after 24 hours? Are you happy? And then at the end, hey, hope you had a great time. Please leave a review. So by using Hospitable and a number of other really inexpensive or sometimes free softwares, it's a very automated process that leaves you with just, you get the fun ones like, oh my gosh, where do I propose? And you get the occasional like, oh no, we can't find the place. And you jump in at that point. But it takes much less time than most people think. We're managing 9 ourselves along with, coaching businesses, kids, pets, etc. And 99% of the time it's awesome. There's always the 1% that, but it's actually usually a bigger percent in other jobs.
Yeah. Well, that's the part that I just thought was pretty cool. You use the word in there, business leisure, right? Bleisure, is that what you call it? And I was like, darn, she just explained my real estate gig. Like,
seriously, huh?
Everyone's discovered what we do here over in real estate, right? But I mean, it truly is like people have walked into that world now, because I get that all the time now. Like, oh, I'm work from home. And so when they're deciding where they're going to live now, they can be more open to the areas of the places that they choose to buy in, because they're not necessarily going to an office anymore.
And bleisure plays into, we're booked 97% of the time, and people can't believe it. They're like, it's not just weekends. I'm like, bleisure. Why would you sit in your tiny condo in the city when you could rent a cabin and like do your job on your laptop and then go hiking or float down the river? Like, it's a totally different way to live. And I really feel like the luxury is having time and flexibility in where you are and what you're doing.
So how much time do you guys, or what's the budget for you guys to marketing these properties, right? Is it just strictly putting them on Airbnb? What does that look like?
So we are sole platform, which is a little controversial. Many people are like, oh, well, if I could list for free on like 19 places, and that's 19 more places people can see me. For us, we list on Airbnb. They currently have 72% of the home sharing market. So they're the biggest player. And the way that Airbnb works is a little bit like Google search. So are you at all familiar with like search engine optimization, like how you tweak your website 100%. To get it to show up? It's if you treat Airbnb like the search engine it is, it makes a lot of sense to just be sole source, because they reward you for occupancy and they can't see the occupancy on the other places. They reward you for the number of times people click, and you go up and up and up. And so there's a lot of, and we go way into it in the book, but there's a lot of good reasons to just be sole source on Airbnb. That being said, when I list a new place, like we just listed one yesterday.
Yes.
Do I put it on my personal Facebook? I absolutely do. Do I put it on social media? I do, because again, people engage with it. They click on it. We do have a little website where we have all of our listings, which is easy to send people to. When they click on the listing, it goes straight to Airbnb, but it's just a way to have them all in one easy spot for someone that's like, I'm curious about your area. What do you have? But that's it as far as marketing. Airbnb does it.
I love it. Well, and I love that you keep it centralized, and that since the product works well on Airbnb, why not be there? Right? You're having great results there, obviously. So that's fantastic, because I think that's the one thing that someone who might be thinking about getting into this business or buying, they're like, oh, how do I do it? Where do I put it? Where, how would I even go about it? Yeah. Well, Airbnb is like your Google for, right?
Yeah, for short-term rentals. It's like when our babysitter was, when I was like, hey, what's the cool thing for like Christmas gifts for your age bracket? When she was like, oh, we all want Airbnb gift cards. I was like, okay, like this is like,
wow,
never going away. What a great idea, and easy to wrap. But it's completely changed how people stay, travel, work, everything.
Yeah.
Shoot, there are Airbnb gift cards.
I know. I had no idea, right?
Now, okay, I travel a ton. My husband does all the bookings, so I honestly don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Good for you,
I just literally pay and show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but what a great closing gift, sister. Totally. Like an Airbnb gift card, right?
I did not know those existed. So yes.
I just think that why not support the other real estate aspects of the business, right?
Yeah.
And plus, then it puts them on the platform, and then they think about, I'm sorry.
Oh, and we have friends that are realtors that own places that have their like little book about, what to do in and around their place. And at the end, it's like, hey, did you love our place? Would you like one like it? I'm actually a Williams realtor. Here's my email.
Oh, that's a fantastic
Yeah.
idea too.
Prospects out the wazoo.
Yeah, yeah, my cousin did a lot of, I don't know if she did it on Airbnb, but she did that in Palm Springs, and then Palm Springs got so tough. So
Mhm.
going into that, like, you know, doing the research so that you make the investments in the right place. What are your recommendations for people who are considering that?
So, it's first find like a lot of people do a lot of like research in a lot of places. And while
Yeah,
that's great, I think that's a lot of effort. And then there's all of these different things to try to hold in your head and compare and contrast, and it makes things harder. Going back
yes.
to what we had said earlier, think about where you like to go with your family, with your friends,
Mhm.
and research those communities. And literally, the easiest way to do it is go on Airbnb and just type in either your hometown and then do, 3 hours out and just look for clusters.
Yeah.
On the screen, they'll
Hmm.
show little red dots where there are Airbnbs. So if you see two Airbnbs, that may not be the best market on the planet. If you see 800, it might be a little bit saturated. So if you're looking
Okay.
for your first investment, biggest bang for your buck, you kind of want an up and coming area. So
Yeah.
look for a place that has maybe 80 or between 80 and 200 Airbnbs, and you're in a good spot. And the next step is to reach out to a real estate agent and say, hey, I'm looking for a short term rental in this area. Is that something you're familiar with? Is that something you can help me look for? Here's my budget, parameters, that sort of a thing. So, those two
Yeah.
things, when they start sending you listings, you can compare them and be like, okay, I'm starting to get an idea of how much, cost per square foot. Okay, a two bedrooms about 120,000 or 200,000 or wherever you
Right.
are, that changes. But just to get a
Yeah.
sense for what a deal is and isn't in that area. So those sort of the early steps of finding your spot.
Yeah, and I've gotta tell you, sister, like, her book goes in way more detail too.
That
It
was
really
that was the
honestly,
90
like,
seconds versus the like 90
yeah,
pages. But
yeah, no,
Right.
100%. I mean, truly, I believe, and I'm not finished with the book, guys, and I am going to finish it because the book has just great information in there on what you should look for, what the average price per square foot, your Air DNA little
yes.
tool.
Oh, I love AirDNA. I didn't even get to that one. I was trying to go with free, but if you want to pay $20 for your market, you can do all this research and find out like for a two bedroom or a three bedroom or a four bedroom in the area you're looking, how much they're making a night. And you'll know
Yeah,
that you will actually probably, if you follow sort of the host coach systems, you'll probably make at least 25 to 45% more a night, and you'll be booked 97% of the time. So
yeah,
like it's even better. But
yeah.
going back to short blurbs versus long blurbs, I love to read. I read so many books.
Yes, I
I
do too.
don't love a book that gets you all fired up about an opportunity and then is like, so go do it. And you're like,
Good luck.
I'm not dumb, but like I could use like Emily, it's like I wanted this to be a roadmap. Like, here you
Yes.
go. If
Yeah.
you're living it, like you can skip to the chapter you're in or start at the beginning, but like here's nuts and bolts, nitty gritty, how you do it every step.
Yeah, yeah, so with that said, did the coaching business come before the book or the book after? I mean, in all honesty, because you do have a coaching business, and please talk about that. I'm a big believer in coaching. I'm personally a business coach,
Oh,
so
awesome.
I'm okay with you sharing that forward. Please do.
So it was very organic. So again, much like one cabin turned into three cabins, turned into five cabins, turned into nine cabins. Like um,
Yes.
family members were like, "Hey, what you doing? Like you're buying another cabin? How are you doing that? Like what's the money around
Yeah.
that?" And then a couple of my husband's really close guy friends. Mike and Lou are from like middle school and college. Were like, what are you doing? Like our friend Lou had tried to do a flip and it did not go well.
Okay.
And
Oh.
so that was the organic component of it. And it was really interesting to be able to try with different personalities and different markets all of these things out that work for us and make sure they work. So that was a really interesting component. And then
Yes.
we were actually invited, one of our good friends works at a Keller Williams office in Wilmington. And she's
Yes.
like, hey, can you come in and talk?
Yeah.
And little do we know that that talk would turn into the outline for the book and
Yeah.
all of these people who wanted coaching and all of their clients who wanted coaching. So it was like matches and gasoline. This
Yes.
book was written in like 4.5 months. Like my first book took
Yeah.
me like
Wow.
a year. So it was just so ready and timely and exciting.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I mean, obviously it's from fruits of the God, right? I mean, obviously 100%. Like he's like, move this forward. You're definitely doing my work. And
Yeah.
it's coming from a place of passion and excitement from you. I mean, you can read it and feel it just in your book, to be completely honest. And then I was on your website and checked out, I love the simplicity of your website. It seems to be very, very easy to maneuver, and is a great reflection of who you and your husband are. So good job on that. I mean,
It's a
honestly,
give back.
awesome.
It was like, why would we keep all of this to ourselves? There's so many
Yes.
people
Yeah.
who can live a better life, be better to their families, be better to themselves, and just make the world a better place if they were able to make an investment that returned the way that it does. So we actually coach for free.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
Oh,
a very
Wow.
recent decision. Um, we used to charge, and we just realized that like you can't outgive God. And so we do free half-hour consultations and a couple follow-ups, and yeah, it's again, you can't outgive God, and
No.
it's just so exciting to meet new people and have like new ideas and even like challenges. Like I love overcoming obstacles in sales. Oh, I was so good at that. Like I don't want people to have problems, but I love
you're right.
coming up with like the idea that's like, oh, well, let's just, turn that ugly shed into a garden pub and all of a sudden it's an amenity, like things like that, or creative financing. Stuff like that makes
Yeah.
me really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
That's
100% with
awesome.
you on that part too.
Yeah.
Like I just can walk into a house and be like, oh yeah, boy, what I could do with this baby.
Right.
You know,
Totally.
I need to show you the before, and I'll send you the befores and afters from the place that we
please
just
do.
listed. It
We,
was,
Yeah.
I call them
we would.
extra crispy. It was, my husband likes turnkey. I like crispy, and this one was off market extra crispy, but it turned out beautiful.
I just absolutely love it. So
Yeah.
tell me this then, because I think the one big thing that you opened with in your book, and I think we really need to go there for our closing as well, is you said millennials really are bringing the world to a different place, which is our next buying generation, right? That is
Right.
really our next generation of what the world is. And I say millennials in a loving, enduring term because one, I got a bunch of them in my house. and
Yeah.
and I love the idea of what they want to do with the world, and the fact that you said they really like shared common areas. I was like, because me being the older lady that I am, is like, give me my space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Share. I mean, you're sharing your fruits forward. You're sharing this beautiful business forward and doing all of this. What is something you can share forward for our group of people that are listening, and just encourage them to be brave enough to step into this business if it's been like tinging in their heart, right?
You know, I always believe that fortune favors the brave, and never wish for it more than you
Love
work
that.
for it. Between those two, I've managed to get myself into all kinds of exciting adventures. um, I would say the time is now. Like it's in the first pages of the
Yeah.
book. Like, don't be the
Yeah.
person that heard this, got the nudge, thought about it, and chickened out, because you're going to kick
Yeah.
yourself. There are so many opportunities to partner with other people if you want to, like, keep it, a small portion of your savings. There are ways to take
Partner.
equity out on your house. There's just so many different ways to get involved with this exploding opportunity and investment area that, I mean, take the steps. Like, it's easy to make a big list of all the things you don't know and then feel overwhelmed and not do it. I always say, you know what, just find out what's the one, like, what's your first step. And it could
Yeah.
be, I need to identify a market. Or you may be like, I know exactly where I want to have it. Well, how are you going to pay for it?
Yeah.
So look at if you qualify for loans. Look if
Yeah.
you have family members that might want to seed invest and you can pay them back. There's a lot of really creative ways. Um, if it's a second home, there's probably the bank's waiting for you to show up and say you're ready for your second home. Like
Yes.
all these different things. So whatever your first little hang up is, just solve it. Don't make a list of all of them, because that's really hard. Just solve that one thing and take that success and use that to push you into the next thing. And before you know it, you will be so happy that you jumped in this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate that, because you do talk about what the driving factors behind your why, and then having the limiting mindset issues, and you address those items. And it's so true that so many people do deal with those challenges and allow them to not move forward because of that. And I'm like, man, just be brave enough, just go out there and like hit it. I mean, worst case scenario,
Yeah.
life goes on. It didn't work out, right?
Right. And if you're scared, read the book. If you need more help, get on my calendar or on my husband Colin's calendar. Like, we're here. That's what we do. What brings us joy. Like, that's our purpose on earth right now. So
I know you offer free
That's
coaching. I'm like, what
Yeah.
the heck? And you're successfully doing this. I mean, it's obvious with all the raving reviews that you have. You're
Right.
successfully moving this forward. I mean, I know when I bought our second investment property, my husband was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, worst case scenario, babe, we end up with a foreclosure. We'll be good in 10 years. He was like,
That's all.
that's my wife.
different personality. I also have a fearless personality. But having
Yeah.
had the opportunity to work with hundreds of people now, I mean, we've worked with people that have major anxiety, and having
Yes.
something positive to focus on, having a short-term rental to find, furnish, and then guests to interact with has actually been miraculous in how they're handling the anxiety, because instead of focusing on all these negative things, they have this positive thing to work on and spend time on. So while a lot of us are super brave, a lot of us aren't. But I've yet to meet
Yeah.
anyone that's taken the time to be on my calendar that didn't end up getting started. I mean, there was a delay. One lady found out she was pregnant and wanted to wait a little bit, which I completely understand. But yeah, it's truly possible. It's not one of those 85,000 steps, $10 million kind of things. It's really achievable for almost anyone, especially if you're willing to be creative and a little bit scrappy.
Yeah, and I like that I will finish out with this. I like that you said in the book, like if you're investing in cabins or the second homes or the homes that are a little out of the rural areas, like those are lesser priced, so they're easier to get into, and you do have a greater return on investment, right? So I
Yes.
was like, if you just sit down and have a great conversation with someone who's successful at this, you can as well move this forward. So, with that said, Danielle, where can people find you so that they can, if they're brave enough and want to move this forward, where can they find you?
They can find me at hostcoach.co, no M, .co, at host_coach on Instagram. I'm forever putting up stories of me.
Cool.
I spray paint everything. So there's always a spray paint
Love spray
story.
paint.
I'm forever, like, Rust-Oleum loves me. I'm like their biggest fan. If you're looking for the book, it's on Amazon as a paperback, Kindle, and hardcover, and we should have an Audible book out within the next 30 days.
I
And
saw that
other than
posted on your
that,
site.
I'm occasionally found like strolling around downtown DC, but most of the time I'm spray painting something in the woods.
I love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for joining us. You
Thank
really
you.
are
Yeah.
appreciated. I mean, you have a great energy about you, and you're blessed beyond belief. You're doing things that you love and you're sharing it with the world, and in a free way. What the heck?
Yeah.
I
So
know, my
many
husband's
people
gonna be like, why don't you
don't do
tell
that.
everybody?
And from the person who's like a big Dave Ramsey follower and a Dave Ramsey ELP, he'd be like, raise your prices right now, girlfriend.
Well, I would tell him that's true, and I get it, and that is exactly how my cabin rates continue to go up as they continue to be popular. I will not lie about that. But
Yes.
on the flip side, you can't outgive God. Like,
No, you
and
cannot.
helping people get started and do life-changing, amazing investments. I mean, why not? Why limit that
I
by
love it.
somebody's beginner budget?
I love it. Thank you so, Danielle. It's so much. It was just a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Pleasure. Thank you.